Greetings, VERITAS friends. This week, I'm airing a classic interview with the late U.S. Congressman James Traficant, recorded 10 years ago in 2012. I recently re-listened to it and could not believe how accurate he was. You be the judge. The information he shared certainly vindicates him in the court of public opinion. No wonder he suffered the consequences throughout his entire career. The interview is almost 3 hours long, and I guarantee you will be on the edge of your seat the entire time, even if you have listened to it before. It took a lot of time and effort to get the interview done, but I'm glad I was able to capture as much information as I did. What you're about to hear probably would not survive in any other platform. Jim Traficant was injured in an accident at his farm on September 23, 2014. A tractor he was driving into a pole barn flipped over and trapped him underneath. He died 3 days later. The cause of death was attributed to positional asphyxiation due to the weight of the tractor on top of him. This would probably be one of the most censored interviews I have ever conducted. Jim Traficant leaves an incredible legacy with this material. Listen to the entire episode and let me know what you think. Subscribe at veritasradio.com to listen to the full episode, but only if you can't handle the truth. If you can't, skip over this interview. Was Jim Traficant right? Let me know what you think. Oh, and as a bonus, I've included a never-before-aired short conversation with the late Jim Marrs from 2014. You'll find it at the end of part 2 of this program. You'll hear it for the first time and exclusively here on VERITAS. I'll be back with you with a new episode next week. Enjoy.
The questions you always had. The answers you were never given. The place to seek the truth. Welcome to VERITAS.
Tonight's special guest is quarterback, congressman, convict, and political prisoner James A. Traficant Jr., the victim of a wrongful conviction because of his frank, straightforward politics. Traficant was railroaded out of Congress in 2002 because he was not willing to go along to get along, in contrast to hundreds of other worthless members of Congress who have betrayed their oath of office. Traficant was made an example to anyone else in Congress who dares to rise up against the almighty criminal gang who have hijacked the United States' highest office. It was only 10 days before U.S. President John F. Kennedy's assassination that he publicly made the following shocking statement. Quote, "The high office of the president has been used to foment a plot to destroy the Americans' freedom. And before I leave office, I must inform the citizens of this plight." Unquote. We have every right to demand the truth from our government because everything they do in our name and with our money. It's not the unanswered questions that should worry us as much as the unquestioned answers. The media is filled with lying propaganda. Congress is filled with lying criminals. The government is spending our money in our name, and we have a right to know where it's going. This is our First Amendment right, to peaceably protest against the government. This is not anarchy. It is our legal right as citizens of the United States. What you're about to witness is not the traditional VERITAS interview. We're stepping into forbidden territory, not only for the mainstream media, but even to alternative media. No matter the topic, VERITAS has one simple goal: the uncensored truth. And when I mean uncensored, I really mean it, and you will see why. Whether you're a Republican, Democrat, independent, apathetic, political, or apolitical, you know politicians left or right are taking us closer to the precipice. Why did I name tonight's program America, Land of the Scared, Home of the Slave? America with a K, because our situation reminds me of the former Soviet Union. One day, we turned on the TV and the Soviet Union had imploded. No bombs dropped, no war, no death. It ceased to exist as we knew it. Our current trend is taking us there. Land of the Scared, because we are exchanging our rights for security, and the manufactured chaos and terrorism keeps the security industry alive while keeping most Americans scared of the next boogeyman. And home of the slave because slavery was never abolished. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, frontman for the Rothschild banksters and the Federal Reserve System, signed a law putting the U.S. into bankruptcy in 1933 and gave all property and future possessions and property of all the citizens and future citizens to the Rothschild banksters, making us all serfs who own nothing. From the words of former Congressman James Traficant, prior to 1913, most Americans owned clear, allodial title to property, free and clear of any liens or mortgages, until the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 hypothecated all property within the federal United States to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, in which the trustees or stockholders held legal title. The U.S. citizen, tenant, franchisee was registered as a beneficiary of the trust via his or her birth certificate. In 1933, the federal United States hypothecated all of the present and future properties, assets, and labor of their subjects, the 14th Amendment, U.S. citizen, to the Federal Reserve System. In return, the Federal Reserve System agreed to extend the Federal United States Corporation all the credit, money substitute it needed. Like any other debtor, the Federal United States government had to assign collateral and security to their creditors as a condition of the loan. Since the Federal United States didn't have any assets, they assigned the private property of their economic slaves, the United States citizens, as collateral against the unpayable federal debt. They also pledged the unincorporated federal territories, national park forests, birth certificates, and nonprofit organizations as collateral against the federal debt. The federal United States is bankrupt. Our children will inherit this unpayable debt and the tyranny to enforce paying it. America has become completely bankrupt in world leadership, financial credit, and its reputation for courage, vision, and human rights. This is an undeclared economic war, bankruptcy, and economic slavery of the most corrupt order. Wake up, America. Take back your country.
If you know law enforcement and you got a target, you want a confession. And when you can't get that confession, you want an admission. And I am telling you this right now. They have more tapes on me than NBC. I did nothing wrong. That's why you go ahead and expel me. And I believe this judge is so afraid of what's resonating throughout America, who believe that they should not have to fear their government, and the Congress is their last hope to take it back. And I'm saying this, you speaker, take it back. No American should fear their government, and this guy doesn't. And I'm ready to go. You expel me. It'll make it easier for me to really jack me good. And they're not going to frighten me. I'm ready to go to jail. I'll go to jail before I admit to a crime I didn't commit. And there was never any intent to commit a crime. And when they start bringing letters that you send to cabinet members trying to help your people, folks, there was a dangerous precedent set in U.S. versus Trafficking.
You are listening to Veritas. If this is your first time, welcome home. To listen to tonight's full interview and all of our material, join the Veritas family and click on the subscribe button at veritasradio.com. You can make your purchase with a credit card, PayPal, cash, check, money order, and even cryptocurrency. We are now accepting Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and more. Don't forget to visit the Veritas store for focused life force energy, MMS, rebounders, CBD pure hemp oil, pure organic sulfur, flash drives with all our Sanitas and Veritas seasons, and other great products. And if you want to get in touch with Mel, want to be a guest on this radio program, have a guest suggestion, or have feedback, just click on the contact button of our website at veritasradio.com. And now, here's your host, Mel Hostelrick.
James Anthony Traficant Jr., was a prominent and controversial Ohio politician in the late 20th century. Trafficant was born on May 8, 1941, in Youngstown, Ohio. He graduated from the University of Pittsburgh in 1963, and he also earned a master's degree from the University of Pittsburgh and Youngstown State University. In 1984, Trafficant won a seat in the United States House of Representatives, representing the 17th Ohio District. He won re-election in 8 subsequent elections, serving in the House of Representatives from 1985 to 2002. As a representative, Trafficant became known for his support of working-class issues. Trafficant routinely crossed party lines, voting with the Republican Party to the dismay of the Democratic Party, always voting for what he deemed best for the country. In 2002, a court convicted Trafficant of a number of charges and sentenced him to 8 years in prison. He was released on September 2, 2009. Trafficant maintains that he was framed and persecuted by the federal government for telling the truth. Millions of dollars and over 250 federal agents were used in the investigation and prosecution of Trafficant. You can purchase James Trafficant's book entitled America's Last Minuteman by visiting his website, americaslastminuteman.com, which we also have linked on our website. And directly from Youngstown, Ohio, I would like to introduce James Trafficant. Mr. Trafficant, hello, how are you? Welcome.
Fine, Mel. How are you today?
Great, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. It's not that frequent that we get to interview a former congressman. And right from the beginning, I want to ask with the question that most people want to ask. You believe you were framed, and you did not admit to anything that you were accused of. Why do you believe you were actually accused in the first place?
Well, in 1983, I was sheriff of Mahoning County, and I uncovered the fact that organized crime elements in this area owned and controlled the FBI office. And when I ran for sheriff, I had all intentions to arrest everybody. And the next thing you know, I got to end up being indicted and put on trial, and I represented myself. And I'm the only American in history of our country to defeat the Justice Department in a RICO trial pro se without being an attorney and winning in a full jury verdict. So I had a bullseye put on my back right from back then. But I think that probably what happened as a member of Congress, people had confidence in me, and they contacted me on very important matters, ranging from the Pan Am 103 incident all the way to many, many issues.
This was a preview to this Veritas episode. I hope you enjoyed it. To listen to the full version of Part 1, we have included a link in the description of this video. Subscribe at veritasradio.com to listen to the full program. Thank you.